maybe a little bit more up-tempo with that clock. The second he hits level 6, he is going to start moving his way across the map looking for those openings, and that is something Force Zoomers may want to be a little bit more cautious about. We talked about them maybe looking at more of a defensive support here with the, excuse me, with the third or fourth pick. They could very well go that route right now, as we do see them thinking it over. 30 seconds left on the clock, though, so they might want to speed it up a little bit. We still have the entirety of the second half here of this phase, and then, of course, the final bans and picks as well, so they're really kind of running it down a little too low for my liking, but they're thinking this one over.
Well, if anything, it might be a deny pick. It's something that Husky also very comfortable on, sort of makes the Ancient Apparition's life pretty sad. And now with the Dark Willow pick, okay, it's going to mean that this line is going to get a little bit less farm, but they might be trying to play that 4.5 style that sometimes you see with these type of range supports. And if you get too many heroes in those cogs, it's definitely something that's quite annoying. And again, dealing with the Brambles, we've seen Dark Willow just be such an annoying hero that you always have to contend with, especially when you want to get aggressive on these melee supports. Sometimes the Brambles can just be too much. It's just a little bit not direct enough. You have to run in a straight line, and you just simply can't.
So, not exactly the defensive support that may have been talking about before, but it is an interesting pick for the Four Zoomer side. Speaking of which, Hokori, coming in with the fourth selection, they'll take the Legion Commander for themselves. So you get a little bit of individual lockdown, that sort of single target with the duel, some potential save as well. The LC with the press, the attack, really more of a defensive play than an offensive piece of utility in the current meta. So that LC could potentially bail some teammates out of some rough situations, while Four Zoomers gonna go in for damage and durability with that Ursa pick.
And this is what you always need to be careful of. When you show this Legion Commander this early, I'm surprised Hokori didn't go for a more flexible hero, because now this is a terrible Legion Commander game. It's something that is just so simply countered by the Ursa. The lane is going to be whatever, especially if they try to swap it around so that way there is an AA in his lane. Maybe the clock goes top to play versus a ranged hero, but it does not feel great. While you will have that sort of secondary burst damage from the Ancient Apparition, you will be able to play up on some of these heroes. Leshrac as well, Dark Will, they're both natural Yules builders, so while it is good versus the Dark Will, you are able to purge off well, I mean, pretty much all of her spells. At the same time, it is sort of a soft save for the Lion, where if your puck does get caught, you do have that very easy press the attack on the puck, hopefully get a spell off, stop the chain disable from for Zoomers. I think it's a really bad lane, and in scheme of things, I feel like item-wise, you're also going to get countered pretty hard. So I think it's going to be quite a hard game for Vitaly this time around.
Man, at the end of the day, when we talk about the LC, she's got single target lockdown. She can play a little bit defensively there with the press the attack as well, but if you're not actually winning duels, the scaling ability of this LC is really called into question. So, as you said, it might be a struggle here for Vitaly in this match. Obviously, if you're Hokori, you are pretty much guaranteed to be relying more on the puck and whatever your carry pick is, but if it was a situation where you didn't really care about how your offlaner was going to scale, it feels like there would have been maybe some slightly better choices than that Legion Commander, but we'll see. Just because Vitaly has a sort of tough task ahead of him doesn't mean he won't be up to said task, but for now, we're going to have to wait and see exactly how the rest of the lineup will play out here. Hokori have one last ban to go in for before we move into the last picks, as they start off with a ban on the Slardar here, so they are leaning towards this Leshrac, I assume, sort of go into the middle lane. So in terms of potential further offlane picks, I'm not really sure how much they really have to be afraid of. Slardar was taken away, the Brood's out, Centaur banned as well, the Mars was taken by Four Zoomers, or banned by Four Zoomers rather. So in terms of those conventional sort of tanky options, those frontline heroes, not too much there, but still quite a bit that Four Zoomers could hurt you with, as they ban the Doom. Okay.
I mean, it's interesting bans, but at the same time, we won't know up until they decide to make this final pick for what they think is clearly going to be Brax's hero. But like you said, Brax's hero pool has really been sort of taken away from him, and they're just gonna run it with the Timbersaw. This is another hero Hikori hates to play versus, but they pick it into AA. It's sort of risky, but I think it's gonna work.
Oh,
An anti-mage, okay.
AM pick on the other side, so there's going to be Hokori's carry. Meanwhile, quick look at the odds here before we get things underway. Four Zoomers pretty heavily favored in this one. And I don't know, considering how well they played in that last series, that does make a little bit of sense. But Hokori, maybe they've gotten off to a bit of a rough start in terms of the draft here, but they took that series 2-0 yesterday. They looked pretty good. So while I think Four Zoomers have put themselves in a solid position, I don't think it's going to be a walkover by any means. Hokori should be able to put up a pretty solid fight.
And even then, we saw versus a more established team, Infamous, while they were sort of, 50-50 and definitely a matchup, Hokori definitely knows something playing versus these well-established teams. And draft-wise, they definitely have some ins and outs. Again, it's just the Lion for this puck. If Analog can have a really good game, we could definitely see, even yesterday, we saw KXY sort of outskilling his opponents and really causing them a lot of trouble to that degree. And now, with Lumiere on that AM, we saw AM, another hero earlier today. If you can get away with the greed, if you can choose your fights, then this game is going to feel a little bit Hokori favored. But at the same time, for Zoomers, this is the tried and true lineup. You have a hero that can push down towers, you've got a hero to stand in front of that hero, you've got basic lockdown, you've got an Ursa that's going to have a good lane. So really, it's just two differing realms of thoughts here. Can Hokori get away with their greed, or will Four Zoomers sort of steamroll them with the solid base they have?
Going to be finding out in just a little bit. Game number 1 of our third series of the day getting underway here. Four Zoomers hanging out on that dire half of the map, looking for their third straight victory today. Meanwhile, for Hokori, over on the Radiant, also looking to keep their winning streak going. Obviously, their wins came yesterday, but still very much sort of coming into this one with the hot hand. So we shall see how it plays out here. Winner is going to be, well, the number 1 team in the group stage standings through the first 2 days. So obviously we got quite a bit of time left to play, another sort of 4 or 5 days afterwards, but the chance to jump out and claim sole possession of first place is going to be tempting for both of these squads. As we do get things underway, relatively straightforward maneuvers here. We see some obs wards being thrown down mid, pretty much on opposite sides of the river there. Meanwhile, another obs ward in the south side jungle for Hokori. This one a little bit further back than I would sort of anticipate, but it is going to get them quite a bit of vision in this area. So they're looking to sort of scout out those early maneuvers. If anyone comes through either through the river or just through the south side itself, then Hokori will potentially be able to see it coming.
Oh, and they know as if the Lion is ever going to make a rotation towards mid, that is the only way that Analog will die, is if he gets stunned into stun, and then there's not much he can do about it, especially if they catch him making the orb to the small camp, which is just part of the puck's farming pattern at this point. So it's definitely easy to kill, and we've seen Ocean, one of those 4 players that sits behind that mid tower for ages, just waiting and waiting and waiting to find the most opportune moment. And Brax being on that Timber Saw versus Anti-Mage, it isn't the worst lane, but once Brax has got a few levels up, he'll definitely be able to sort of not be babysat anymore by the Lion, even though he is versus the Ancient Apparition, which is a very obnoxious hero. But it's more Hokori playing not to lose that bottom lane as opposed to trying to completely dominate this Timber Saw.
Meanwhile, the pause was for Lumiere there, I believe, as he did DC, but he is getting himself back in now. Question of whether or not he's actually good to go in terms of whatever lag or ping that he was dealing with, but he has reconnected to the server. That's at least sort of the first step in the process, and it looks like Hokori say they're ready to go. Four Zoomers ready as well. So, brief pause at the start there, but we are underway as we are back into game number 1. So, as we were saying before, not a lot of sort of early movement here. We do see a couple of Four Zoomers heroes, though, hanging out near this sort of west side river. They're going to look to contest the rune, but there's quite a few heroes coming over for Hokori, so this could get a bit more complicated, and Four Zoomers aren't actually going to push in all the way. So, threatening it initially, if Hokori weren't willing to defend it, then they would have been able to steal something, but as it stands, those runes will split 2-2. And, oh my goodness, that voice line spam. Ugh, it is something.
And Lumiere did have to traverse a terrifying affair. There were 4 or 5 Suns fans guarding that bounding rune, but he was able to overcome that and take it. And we see that usually with Anti-Mage, sort of being able to sneak up there. And if you are in dire straits, you can always get that blink.
3 Suns fans and a good effort. That's some serious messages being thrown out there in that east side jungle. For now, though, we do get the laning stage underway. Brax and Ocean getting a little bit aggressive there early on. They hit him up with the Earth Spike into the Whirling Death, and that is a nice little bit of early damage. They know At this point, Lumiere isn't going to have the blink, so he's not very mobile. You can sort of get in, try and burn through that regen across the first minute or two. Hello, Suns fan, and hello again. More Suns fan. But
It's
Lumiere
actually a little
getting
bit hard to
harassed.
see the ranged creep with
Yeah,
the
it's
Suns
kind
fans
of
on the ground.
slightly obscuring it. Huh. There you
As
go.
I say,
Spray's giving a
Valkyrie 6.
tactical advantage. Literally unplayable. Meanwhile, Gardic, well, doing his best to sort of fire back here. I was mentioning earlier on, Lumiere getting hit up early with the stuns and the whirling death, but now that AA should be a little bit better in terms of trying to sort of keep his teammate in a safe spot. Obviously, he can't push the Timbersaw back. Brax is going to be way too tanky for that, but the occasional chilling touch onto Ocean will at least keep the Lion at bay, and really, without the Lion, Brax can't do a whole lot here. Without that Earth Spike, the Whirling Death is not quite as easy to connect with, although he is going to use it there for a last hit or two, but they really do need Ocean to sort of set up those plays for the harassment, so as long as Gardic can keep him back. Oh, okay, never mind. He can't right now. Lumiere going to get hit up by that stun into the Whirling Death, and he will be pushed back again. That regen already about halfway gone.
Yeah, and it's not too bad. You do have the headdress up on AA, and once you get that Ring of Health, really nothing matters. You're just sort of going by the by, not going to buy a stick on the anti-mage. You just don't want to delay your timings any further than they need to be.
Right. If you're 4-zoomers, it's not going to set you up for a kill, really, in no situation here, but just trying to be as annoying as possible. We've mentioned it repeatedly in some of these previous matchups. Every little bit that you can put together to try and slow your opponents down is going to potentially make a difference later on down the line. And meanwhile, up in the top lane, Sammy Boy not really getting slowed up all that much at all. 13 last hits on the board. He and Husky actually pushing in for a potential fight. Vitaly, though, actually coming in there with the overwhelming odds. That's a nice bit of damage. Only level 1 on that spell, but with all the creeps in the area, Sammy Boy and Husky both take a fair bit of damage, and they will be pushed back. So, solid response. El Misho even coming in there with the cogs just in case, but now he might want to be careful. The cogs are coming back up, but Sammy's chasing him down. Look at the Bramble Maze in as well, into the damage from the Shadow Realm, but it's not quite enough. El Misho will survive, falls back with the salve, and he is gonna be okay, but that's a close call early.
Yeah, and just barely out of range to get that far right Bramble. Otherwise, that would have been a kill on the Clockwork. But again, Vitaly, if anything, has been doing pretty well in this top lane. He's been getting a lot of these last hits, and he hasn't been getting too much denied underneath him. Almost, I think, has a Soul Ring flying out to him, and then he will be fine mana-wise. But dodging this lane as much as possible, you just never want to actively trade with that Ursa unless you can really catch him off guard in a creep wave. Then maybe you can get something done with the Battery Assault. But other than that, we should just see Sammy Boy farm, then maybe pull away a little bit once he has those boots.
El Misho, I'm gonna be a bit careful here. There's gonna be the Bramble into the Shadow Realm. It should be enough damage, and there it is. First blood going Husky's way. El Misho didn't quite learn his lesson. First time around, he just barely got out of there. He goes back in with obviously slightly more HP, but a similar situation plays out. This time, though, not able to get away. This time, the Bramble actually hits him, and Husky is going to be rewarded with first blood. Nicely done.
And they stack up this camp, they block up the large camp, so now Vitaly probably won't have a wave to come back to. Husky's going to try and deny all of this, whereas Sammy Boy, he feels pretty good about himself. He has to wait for his boots to come on the courier, but having his Oov now, Vitaly needs to be careful, especially if the Clockwork is going to make rotations to other lanes like he is.
Meanwhile, speaking of rotations, El Misho, what exactly is he going here? He's going to grab a Boundary Rune in that east side jungle, but looking to wrap around. If he times this up right, the creep wave isn't going to come in time to spot him, so he could make a move. He is level 3, so the Battery Assault is now online. He's going to go in, hitting up Ocean. Not getting the Cog Trap, though. It's the pushback instead, but Lumiere, he doesn't have enough mana to blink. He's not going to be able to chase that one down. Ocean falling back here, throwing out the Earth Spike, and that should buy enough time. El Misho no longer has the Battery Assault, so Ocean's going to look to TP out, and at this point the clock... Oh! Okay, nifty play there, coming in with the pushback from the Cogs. That cancels the TP. Can he actually get the kill, though? Ocean is not actually faster. El Misho has the boots, so he should catch up eventually, but at this point, Ocean is still trying to make his way out of here. He threw down the Earth Spike once again. Now he's going to go for the deny, and he gets it. El Misho mistiming the Rocket Flare. He very nearly grabs that one, but Ocean will deny himself to those Ancients, and no kill for Hokori.
Oh, and while it is sort of unfortunate you did get your TP canceled there, Brax does not care at all. He's getting all of this soul XP. He has a soul ring. Really, the Lion was not doing too much in his lane at the end of the day. But now Gunner is getting punished mid.
Yeah, jumped in on in the middle lane, a little bit too far forward, looking for the kill on the analog, but he's... Okay, he is taken down. El Misho very nearly dies, cutting it incredibly close. This Clockwork so far living life on the edge. That's the second or third time now he's been incredibly low on his HP, but that time around it works out. They'll take down the Leshrac, and that's a fantastic rotation. Good job by Elmisho to set that one up.
Well, and if Analog, it really got scary there because he missed the illusory orb. Otherwise, that kill's relatively clean. He doesn't need to worry about it too much, but making all of us squirm in our squirm in our chairs for a second. But Husky stole the rune out from under the puck, but Analog is still making these rotations. They're trying to catch this. Yeah, they're kind of stuck down here.
Brax, where exactly does he go right now? He's so tanky, though, with the reactive armor, so I'm not really sure they're going to be able to get him, but now Analog pushes his way in. They're going to try to get onto Gunner. Where's the lockdown? There's no Dream Coil. Elmisho obviously can't get the Cog Trap off at that point. It was still on cooldown, so they're going to really not get much of anything out of this. And meanwhile, up in the top lane, Vitaly left alone. There's nothing he can do here. Husky and Sammy will lock him down, and that's going to be the Ursa grabbing himself his first kill of the match.
Well, and now that you do have Coil, you've sort of not mis-rotated, but Gunner did go to the bottom lane. He was the one sort of pushing the agenda, as he does have that max level in Edict. You do have to respect it a little bit, especially with AM sort of rotating out, but Elmisho...
Whoa, okay, that...
Oh, okay.
I mean, you know, he'd been making some nice plays. He rotated mid. He was able to get himself out of one or two rough situations up top, but that is maybe a little bit too confident there. 1v1 against the Leshrac, you straight up lose that one. So Gunner gets a bit of a freebie. He's going to have the salve sort of dug up with that with that shovel earlier on as well. So he heals up. He finds the kill. He's going to make his way back mid. Doesn't have a whole lot of mana here, but actually, what is he doing? He's going to go. That's not a good idea. He's trying to go for the tower.
Oh no.
Oh my goodness, Gunner.
He's suiciding for it.
Not going to go. Okay, death will not stop the edict. So Gunner is able to bring it down, but you give over a kill to the anti-mage for that tier 1. That feels pretty bad at this point. Not entirely sure he needed to make that sacrifice, but he will be taken down. But now Ocean's in some trouble as well. Analog deploys the Dream Coil, and that is going to get the puck a kill. So that was very strange for 4 Zoomers. They lose their Leshrac, they lose the line as well. They at least get the tower, so a little bit of that gold sort of goes back their way. They're still up by 2,000, so they must be doing something right now, but just kind of a weird decision on his part.
Well, and being able to take this bottom tower as well on Brax, they've really just completely vacated this lane, and they don't have the best solutions to end up killing this Timber Saw. But Analog, whenever you have that coil, it's really difficult for Gunner to make plays like that. That's why it's sort of strange that he did sort of walk into the enemy's hands almost there. But aside from that, still Brax, Sammy both having very nice times. Sammy Boy able to complete his upgraded boots. Vitaly still getting the scraps. Most of his last hits are actually a small camp stack. He's been sort of forced in and out of the lane and just getting picked off top a few moments ago just because he's getting ditched a little bit. Elmisho is trying to have a bigger impact on the map, even though it is at Vitaly's expense. But now that he's level 6, Vitaly might be able to string together a kill with Analog also being up here in the top lane.
Yeah, we'll see what they can do. They need a target, though, before they can really try much of anything, and Sammy Boy is not exactly going to comply. He is farming up in the jungle right now, so he is not going to show himself. Meanwhile, what is going on down bot? They've jumped in onto the Ancient Apparition. Gardic is going to get some backup, though. Analog comes in. They'll drop the Dream Coil onto 2. Gardic, though, not level 6, so he can't throw out the Ice Blast, but at this point, well, he hits level 6, goes for it. Brack's going to get hit up, and he's dead. There is no way he can survive that one, as Analog is going to bring him down. Gunner, he tries to come in on the back end, but he's a little bit too late. Analog picks up the double kill. Yeah, you have to sacrifice Gardic, but that is well worth what you get in exchange. 2 for 1, both kills into Analog's hands, and the puck gets closer and closer now to that Witchblade. That's going to sort of bump up that damage to a pretty significant extent.
And it feels as if you're just not respecting this puck a little bit with that play. Brax is well in enemy territory. They tried to go for the dive onto the level 5 AA. Instead, I feel like Brax could have just TP'd top, played into their push instead. And while you are playing into maybe more heroes, it's a little bit harder for Gartic to get into that lane. You're just pushing top without your AA. He has to get there. It's a little bit of a miscommunication, but instead they play directly into the hands of that puck AA, and that's the damage.
Vitaly.
Yeah, top.
Next up immediately in the top lane. That's going to be the finger coming in for motion as well, just to make sure. no funny business from Vitaly, no defensive plays, and that is going to be that first charge.
Good
up
shot.
on the finger, but El Misho hooking in. Ice Blast will follow. Ocean in some trouble. The Illusory Orb is going to be thrown in here as well, so Ocean should be going down in this situation. Chilling Touch comes through, and Gardic will find the kill. So they do manage to get a little bit of revenge there. Good initiation from El Misho. The problem is, at the end of the day, that's core for support. Lion dead in exchange for the Legion Commander should still favor the side of 4 Zoomers there as they push that lead up past the 3K mark. But if you're Hokori, you found something there. The only downside is that you weren't able to get off any sort of dual play as the Legion Commander had already fallen.
Well, now Brax immediately going back bottom. It feels like a Timber Saw. He's going to be pushing your tier 2 as soon as those carts are up. This is really when Timber is at its strongest. Unfortunately, doesn't have a hood because of that one previous death, but you really need somebody to come deal with this Timber Saw. He's taking a lot of damage because he wasn't able to farm with the stacks beforehand, but he could be baiting somebody to just simply come bottom. I think Analog has a TP scroll coming on the courier right now, and he can definitely TP, so Brax does need to be a little bit careful, but they're trying to call up the rotations right now, but this top tower is going down.
Gunner gonna make his way in. He's looking for the fight. Dream Coil, though, will be deployed, but the reinforcements are arriving. Ocean is coming in. They're going to get the TP in from Husky as well. And, Analog, he didn't get out. He does end up getting taken down. Sammy, meanwhile, was in the pit, actually taking Roshan. So not only do they find that kill, they save their tower, they get the Aegis, and now they might be looking for another. Vitaly is still on the run here. He's going to try and turn around for the overwhelming odds. That is going to give him the speed bonus, but the Curse Crown is still on him. So he's going to get locked in. At this point, can 4 Zoomers catch up? Ocean trying to get into position, going in for the Earth Spike, will be able to connect, and that is going to set up the splitter stun. Vitaly will be taken down, and 4 Zoomers really sort of turning that one around. Gunner just having the utmost faith in his teammates there, knowing Ocean and Husky were going to be there to back him up.
And having the back end stun of that Earth Spike hitting onto Analog, that is absolutely disastrous. As Brax, he was farming that entire time. Sammy Boy got a DD rune and immediately went into the pit. This is an incredible lead now for Zoomers. It feels like they can do whatever they want now. Lumiere does have his Battle Fury finally finished up, but that's it. It's just a Battle Fury. He has Battle Fury Circlet and a Possessed Mask. He really can't show up to any engagements unless somebody is really, really low on mana, but even then, he can't ever blink in. He just needs to Mana Void and run away. Everything is on the shoulders of Analog now to get sort of work done on the map.
Yeah, not a position you want to be in, sort of coming out of that initial laning stage. The AM, not exactly a hero that we were going to be seeing pushing into immediate team fights at the 13-minute mark anyway, but now it's less because he doesn't want to, and it's more because he just straight up can't. Although, as you said, more pressure now going to be put on Analog to try and make some plays. He is going to jump in onto Brax here. Dream Coil will be deployed. Ice Blast coming through as well. Brax, well, he's really not feeling much pain. Oh, okay,
Nice.
never mind. There's going to be the pain. El Misho perfectly timed with the hook shot. They will lock the Timber Saw down. He's going to try to get the chain off again, but by the time he gets out, well, Analog is going to drop him low enough for that Shatter to come into play. So Brax will be taken down. Really didn't think they were going to get that one for the first maybe 3/4 of the engagement, but that clutch hook shot from El Misho sets him up, and Brax will be taken down. That is a big kill for Hokori.
And for playing as isolated as he is getting something in return. His team is being allowed to play in the enemy triangle, more or less. Sammy is just finishing up his Diffusal Blade. He has it now, meaning that anybody is a target if he's able to get on top of them. We'll probably see the Blink Dagger queued up after, and then the Anti-Mage will just be pursued even more. Already, Gunner is really the best catch on his team up until that Blink Dagger on Ocean's completed, but even that is coming forward right now for 4 Zoomers. It feels like right now their timeline is looking really good, whereas Hokori, it feels like they're going to have to dodge a lot of these fights coming up unless they can keep the pickoffs coming, because Vitaly, he went Hood before Blink Dagger. You're not going to have that available to you. Analog's just getting a straight up BKB. It looks like they really are just going to try and dodge for as long as they can.
Yeah, and if they do want to try and take any fight of any kind, there's 2 heroes, and 2 heroes only, that can make that play. It's Analog's Puck, and it's El Misho on the Clockwork. And when only 2/5 of your lineup are capable of putting together any sort of aggression whatsoever, you are very much sort of hamstrung here. They can't do a whole lot. As you said, they might just have to play it out defensively, but the problem is, with them playing defensively, this now gives 4 Zoomers an opportunity. If they can recognize that passive style from their opponents, they're going to continue to push their way across the map, try and take more control. You see Brax setting up for the tier 2 push down bot, and here comes Gunner in with that max level Edict. This tier 2, it's just straight up gone.
even Sammy Boy mid with the Diffusal Blade, he just puts so much pressure onto Analog. Before Analog gets that Blink Dagger, which he isn't even getting, he's going for that BKB because he's so scared of this Lion, and Lion has his Blink Dagger now. If they ever show up in sort of a varying degree, it's going to go bad for them, and this is the power of Lesh and Timbersaw. You're just going to be able to push into this tier 3 tower. Someone's got to come. They're knocking on your front door, and if you don't, this is just going to be free damage on a tier 3 16 minutes into the game.
Yeah, Gunner pushes his way forward. Got to deal with that creep wave first, but they will be able to clear it out. Now the damage
Hawk's gonna go now.
will be coming in. There's going to be the Ice Blast, though. Oh, El Nisho. He was so close, but he misses on just about everything. No hookshot connection. The good news, at least, is that and the Ice Blast does push Four Zoomers away from the tier 3 tower. Bad news is it loses about half of its HP, and Four Zoomers don't sacrifice anything. So they're in and out there pretty successfully.
And Sammy, he's just continuing to exist in the triangle. Lumiere does not get to farm in the places he normally would if he's going to start to get hunted down.
Vitali.
Oh, bottom.
Bot out, down bot. Ocean and Husky in there for the lockdown. Brax provides the damage. No Finger of Death even used there. The Lion holds on to it. So they still have that nuke damage to work with. As up top, what's going on here? Ocean TP's in, stunning up Lumiere, but there's no actual backup. Gunner was sort of slowly making his way over, but not in time to actually force that fight. So the AM will be pushed back, but over in the west side jungle, what's going on here? El Nisho dangerously close to the Ursa as Sammy Boy will have that Aegis timeout on him, so he no longer has a second life available, but he's in the middle of this west side jungle, just taking away more and more farming opportunities from that Hokori side as we have a bit of a pause coming into play now.
Well, and unfortunately with that play top, Gunner, he was trying to boots of travel onto the wave. Ocean had already used Hex. I'm not sure if it got reflected or not, but he didn't have it. It was on cooldown from before, so they weren't able to chain up the AM. It was a good attempt otherwise, but now that the Aegis is gone, it really felt like bottom tier 3 was the punishment that Hokori would have been very easily able to find. There were really two heroes up on that high ground that had no business being there. And now for Zoomers, they get to make the easy decision to just take your other tier 2s, take more of your outer towers. The nice thing they have going for them on the Hokori side is their vision is completely geared to the playstyle this AM is forced to be in. He needs to sort of bide his time, hit the enemy neutrals, try to play as far away from the Four Zoomers heroes really as possible, and then hope that he can find a fight to get into, maybe once Vitali has his Blink Dagger. But until then, this is really just going to be a very passive game from Hokori. Up until that BKB, I'm not even sure Analog feels confident enough to step up in a lot of these fights, and even with the Aegis gone, they killed it so fast that we're going to have our second Roshan in, what, probably between 21-22 minutes, and that's when this game is really going to make it or break it for the Hokori lineup.
About, what is that, 3 minutes on the Roche cooldown timer, so I don't really see Hokori taking enough control of the map in the next 3 minutes to be able to realistically contest that. So, as you said, this could just be another relatively straightforward Roche. This time it'll be Aegis Cheese and the Shard, and off the back of that, they're going to be looking to push in for some sort of fight. So if you're Hokori, what do? You can't really push right now. You can't really necessarily push a few minutes from now when Four Zoomers will presumably have Aegis and Cheese. So you're stuck in a situation where I think they just need to look for more of a mid-game timing. It's going to suck for them right now to have to sort of play maybe more passively, more defensively, but the alternative is not great for them, as Lumiere just going to try and harass Brax a little bit here, but never really a situation where he's going to be able to go all the way in for that kill, as Brax simply pops the Soul Ring and jumps away.
And they see the Ursa TP in. They do have, again, very good vision on the Hokori side. They're able to make these decisions fairly easily, but at the same time, if you ever see them on these wards, they're not doing what they need to be doing. They need to be playing on your side of the map, and that's exactly what they are. And that's when they're looking for these kills in this ward. It sees Analog.
Oh, there it is. No. Ocean blinks forward, goes in for the Hex. They're going to throw the Terrorize down as well into that Earth Spike. So Analog really just not able to get himself out. Finger of Death even being deployed as he will be able to find that kill. But now El Nisho into the fight, hooking his way forward. They get in onto Husky, but at this point, I'm not really sure how much they're going to be able to get here. They're looking for the TP out on that Dark Willow, and the Willow will get away. The Lion TP'd out previously, so they're in. They get the Analog kill. They get out before there's any repercussions.
And now, Sammy Boy, he's just been able to farm this entire time. Lumiere was able to push in the bottom wave pretty much entirely. but this is still quite a bad situation for them to deal with. And now, Force Zoomers, they're just accelerating on every single core. Even Brax at this point, we'll see what he decides to go. Maybe he gets that flamethrower, and that'll be when the shard sort of spells disaster for the Hokori side in terms of their building defense, but you're not even seeing Vitaly go for that Blink Dagger anymore. He knows that if he's not able to walk up and duel someone, maybe getting pushed back from the cogs or getting disabled by this coil, they're just not going to have enough damage. They need to spec into something, anything, to get these kills coming in. That one ward just scouting out Analog, it sucks so much because, again, if you're going to make any plays, it's going to come from him, but even now, it's just so difficult for him to get anything on the board. And look, you even see Gunnar just so patient, waiting underneath this tier 2 tower. With the vision they have, he's just not risking it. They're not risking anything on the 4-zoomer side and just getting the whole map.
Gunnar now TPing himself down bot. They see an opportunity. Hokori are a little bit spread out across the map, so if Gunnar is quick about this, he could get back in onto the high ground, but it looks like Hokori are bringing the reinforcements they need. Analog is here. We've got Vitaly in the area, but that's less of an intimidation factor, and that was just more 4-zoomers making moves to force moves from their opponents, right? Gunnar TP's down, Hokori have to respond. They can't just let him go in onto that tower by themselves. So if you're 4-zoomers, you now force your opponents to sort of congregate in a smaller section of the map. It's going to be easier, not just to keep track of them, but now for Sammy to find even more farm. He's going to take that west side jungle over once again, farming up in that sort of triangle area.
And the issue that you'll sort of see coming up is as soon as this Hokori vision starts to fade, this top ward is fairly fresh, but this ward right here that they placed a very long time ago has really been giving them the information for Lumiere to sort of play in these side lanes and feel comfortable getting out onto the map. He hasn't gotten picked off yet, but they're going on Brax.
I don't know if that's a good idea.
I don't know if this is right.
Yeah, Sammy Boy's here, and it is time to run. In theory, maybe they could have gotten that, but the second the Ursa shows up, it's just straight up not going to happen. And now Lumiere might be in some trouble. The Yule Scepter is going to be deployed onto him, while Misha, though, tries to hook in. Instead, he's just going to get hit up by the Split Earth himself. And now, oh, Lumiere, he couldn't blink out. He was trying to do it, but the Hex comes in from the Lion. Some clutch plays from Ocean to secure the kill. Even gets in there with the Finger of Death on the back end as well, and that's just unbelievably unfortunate for Hokori. 2 heroes dead. And now Gunnar's just going to push his way forward. He does not care. He wants these objectives, and there's nothing Hokori can do as of right now to stop him.
And even Gunnar just feeling completely confident to walk up to that mid tower, still sitting there with the Edict, not wanting to die. They saw the Blink Dagger on Vitaly. He keeps on switching what he wants, but with Roshan respawning in a minute, 10 seconds, really, 4-zoomers, every single time they kill the AM, Analog is not ready to really split push out these lanes. He doesn't have a Blink Dagger. He doesn't have Boots of Travel. This isn't the puck that we see with 700 GPM, always pushing out the lanes, never fighting, but farming at a crazy speed. This is a fighting puck, and really, there's no fight to be had. At this point, you're going to have Sanjin Yasha. Yeah, it's already Sanjin Yasha on the Ursa. You have a Sanjin Kaya on Brax. And eventually, you're going to have another Sanjin Kaya on Gunnar, and then your targets are just so few and far between. They might just snap the coil to maybe dodge out the Ice Blast. They really are going to start ignoring your heroes, and that's when this game just becomes absolutely impossible for Hokori to win.
At this point, I'm not 100% sure. I'm going to double check with you, ET. Have we seen a duel from Vitaly in this game yet? Because I'm pretty sure the answer is no.
No, we haven't, and it's indicative of having his lane versus the Ursa, but also just not able to really surge up with his puck. Every single time it felt like the puck and the LC were going to sync up and get some sort of play done. Puck always had to TP reactively. She had to deal with that Timbersaw, and while she is the hero to deal with the Timbersaw, Vitaly's game has just continued to struggle. I mean, 0-4 and 0. There just really hasn't been anything for him to get. And now, yeah, just Roche.
Ice Blast, though, will be flying through. That's, it's slightly annoying, but I don't think it's actually going to matter. Sammy is taking the damage, but he doesn't really care. Roshan will be finished off. Aegis into his hands. Who else takes what? Shard picked up by the Ursa as well. Gunnar will grab the cheese. So the Ursa now with that temporary enrage on the Earthshock, and that's going to make this even more difficult for Hokori to really do much of anything. They already had difficulty sort of keeping the Ursa contained, and now, now we've got a problem. Lumiere going to get caught out. Elmisha, though, nice play in with the hookshot, trying to keep his teammates alive, but it's not going to be enough. The anti-mage still falls. Gunnar comes in for the kill onto Elmisha, and Analog I mean, you got to admire the ambition there, trying to save his teammate with the Dream Coil, but at the end of the day, it's not enough, and he is going to be forced to fall back. Meanwhile, mid, Vitaly has been caught out. Gonna get hit up by the Cursed Crown and the Yule Scepter. Terrorize comes through as well. Brax is just going to hit him up with as much damage as he's got, and I don't know if the LC makes it out. They are going to be able to try to save the day with the press the attack, but it's not going to be enough. Sammy now comes into the fight, hits him up with the Diffusal Blade for the slow, and that is going to be the Legion Commander taken down.
And they bring exactly as many heroes as they need to kill that anti-mage bottom. Everybody else stays. He thought it was safe. He walked up his own high ground as confident as you can be after seeing 3 heroes kill your anti-mage at the bottom T2. And yeah, they're just diving in at this point.
Yeah, here we go. Gardic taken down immediately. He will buy back. El Misho falling as well, but unfortunately the Clockwork doesn't have a buyback himself. So he is still down. Vitaly is dead as well, but that glyph is going to at least buy a little bit of time here. 4 Zoomers have to wait for it to dissipate, but once it does, Gunner's got the Edict back up in about 2 seconds, so they should be able to push through the tier... Oh my god, through the tier 3. Sammy, he would rather get the kill. Jumps in onto Gardic. That's going to be a dieback there for the AA, and now their base is under attack. Tier 3 tower dropping rapidly. The melee rack's under attack now as well, and if you're Hokori, what exactly do you do here? The AM is presumably going to be their sort of best damage option, but he's actually just straight up leaving the base right now. Not looking to get involved.
And now, I mean, Gunner, you have this Diabolic Edict. You're just able to push in. He really isn't showing himself at all on Sammy, and they're not even out of spells. I was going to say they don't have cooldowns, but they have everything. But they know that if they go on these heroes, they're just going to lose a little bit too much, and they have to dump everything. Okay.
There it is. Duel comes out. Look at that stun from Ocean, though. In onto 3. The Terrorize going to be deployed as well into the Finger of Death. El Misho already taken down. Lumiere does get off the Mana Void. It's not going to be enough, though. He and Vitaly will fall, and honestly, at this point, it's just sort of starting to fall apart. Analog is the only man still alive. They're going to miss with the stun, but it's not going to matter. Analog is still getting pushed back towards his fountain. He is not going to be able to survive, as Brax will bring him down, and at this point, the Gardic is the only man alive, and no one currently dead has buyback available, and okay, Sammy, that's just a little bit rough. He's going to jump in onto Gardic. That's Gardic's 3rd death in the past maybe minute and a half, and the A just brings him right back up.
And the tips as well, and I can only imagine the Gs are going to get dropped pretty soon here. This was just a working. 4 Zoomers really just did whatever they want this game. It really felt like Hokori, they had a few cute plays earlier on in the game, but after a certain point, everything 4 Zoomers did with such confidence, even Brax just dying in the bot lane, I don't think there was a moment where Sammy Boy ever thought about leaving the enemy jungle. And yeah, he's just farming fountain at this point.
Yeah, looking to pad the stats a bit here as he goes in for yet another kill. Tier 4 towers, meanwhile, dropping as Gunner is just sort of playing some objective gaming, but still no GG from Hokori just yet. But at this point, I don't really think it's going to matter whether they actually call it. The tier 4s are dropping and the Ancient has been exposed, so that should just be the end of it. As Analog, okay, valiant effort here, trying to push back in. The duel comes in from Vitaly as well, but they're not... Oh, okay. Not going to be able to get much. They do bring down Ocean, but that's pretty much it. Lumiere will fall, Gunner falling as well, but it's not enough. There's the GG.
Yeah.
Couple of kills on the back end there, but not enough.
And just didn't matter. He was sitting in the fountain, AFK, looking for a Mana Void target. That target ended up being the Lion, but it really doesn't matter at that point. First Roche was 14 minutes into the game. Second Roche was 23 minutes into the game. They got everything they wanted. They ended the game 4 minutes later. Zoomers just absolutely thrashed them. And it felt like Hokori were making the plays they needed to. It felt like 4 Zoomers were giving them a freebie a little bit as well. Whenever Gunner ended up dying mid, Brax getting caught out by the puck twice bottom. But at the end of the day, this Ursa had an absolute free time. There was no hero to play against him. And while you did last pick this AM, it didn't work out. He was finding his farm. You had the vision set up. Everything was banked on Lumiere. And usually when we see Hokori do well, I feel like it's by the standout performances by Analog and El Misho. And in this game, every single time, while they weren't overtly feeding or dying too much around the map, they weren't able to do anything to the heroes of 4 Zoomers. They dodged them. They farmed up. They won. 4 Zoomers.
Yeah, I mean, it sounds simple, and it looked pretty simple, too, in that match. So, 4 Zoomers able to get it done. That is their 3rd straight victory now in this group stage. They have pretty much put together a clean run so far. The question now is, how does their final match of the day look? Game 2 between 4 Zoomers and Hokori is going to be coming up in just a little bit. Will 4 Zoomers be able to keep that winning streak going and push it to 4? Or can Hokori try to bounce back here from a rough first match defeat, try to put something together here to salvage that 1-1 draw? we will be finding out in just a little bit here, as we're going to be pushing into Game 2 of this series in just a few more minutes. So stick around. We'll be coming back your way in a little bit.